So this video intends to be a little chat with you, the YouTube algorithm, or algorithms in general, but it's useful also for us as human beings in relation to our own algorithm, this linear thinking or time-based thinking, right, which operates like if it is mechanical or like an artificial intelligence in a way of our own, because this true intelligence is in a way adapted in this case to work within an assumed time and space. So it becomes mechanical, but I would say that it's rather quantic or magical or eternal. But back to the algorithms. So I understand that in a sense the scope of an algorithm is to search and find, right? Search and find. And you might hear on these videos that if you search, you don't find, right? So it might be decided in the way you are programmed. It might be decided that this video is useless. So that's why I want to make a case here and explain a little bit why it isn't useless. So this being or happiness or peace or truth would resemble in a way, in your case, with electricity. And if you search for electricity, right, you might find data about electricity, but you cannot find electricity itself. Right? It's not a concept. It's not data about electricity. So I am like a good programmer that comes and finds you maybe in an infinite loop and shows you that it is futile to continue this search for electricity. So for us as human beings, it's the same. You cannot find happiness or peace because peace is not a conceptual object. And also any data about peace, any data about happiness is of no help. So I understand that people always search how to methods or ways to find something, right? And if a video comes and says that it's useless to search, or if you search you don't find because you deny it to your mind, then it might be that this video is rendered to be useless or is decided to be useless. But this is not the case, right? It might be actually of great help. And it is very important for us as humans to listen to these kind of videos because, for example, you can search for something in 5 seconds. You can iterate through millions of data, right? But for us as humans, this can take maybe 30 years, 40 years, or maybe an entire lifetime of going through experiences. We believe that maybe material gain can bring us happiness, and then we discover that this is not the case. Right? Then we jump into relationships, maybe, where we try to obtain happiness from this relationship, and this actually is a codependent type of relationship, and with all the problems involved, and then we discover that actually we cannot be fulfilled by somebody else, and then we go into self-help. Also there we spend a lot of time, but in this case, this self-help where we are supposed to better ourselves to become better. If this doesn't work, then we go on another round, right? But this doesn't work, and this takes a lot of time because these are not some things that we can get, that we can obtain. But humans have this drive, right, inner drive to feel content, to feel fulfilled, to feel at peace, and believing that this is like some conceptual object, they are trying to find it outside of themselves and try to make steps and rituals and whatnot, right, to get to this peace, to get this peace, right? But it's not a conceptual object. Like in your case, you can't find electricity, but this electricity is what runs you, right? So it's not apart from you in a sense, but it's not an object that you can find. So this is what we explain on this channel. Also, there is no promise of something to be delivered in these videos, right? So we can give no steps to find something. We can give no instructions. So it might be that you could see these videos, or people in general could see these videos to be useless. But actually they are very useful because they are pointing out the difference between, let's say, aliveness and a software, right? A software cannot find electricity, can only find data about electricity. And in the same way, our brain cannot find aliveness, let's say, right? Aliveness is already here, already what is being, right? Or what allows even this search to be made. So I'm not saying that we can't better ourselves, but what I'm saying is that this embetterment is of this brain level, where we can accumulate data and we can learn a new language. This is a field where we can have embetterment, but what we are pointing out in these videos is that regardless of this embetterment, even if you become an expert in electricity as data, you still cannot find true electricity, right? So this is what we are pointing out, right? That there is embetterment at the level of the brain or learning a new language, but that this data about electricity or this embetterment doesn't improve electricity. Right? Electricity is, let's say. Okay, so I think I made the case, but this might be the case of many, many channels that can have this fate. I see that there are very few views because that maybe they're not promoted in these videos, or or there is no understanding where to place these kind of videos, right? So this is in a way about true spirituality, non-duality, philosophy, psychology, even self-improvement. But for those that are tired to search and see that nothing really works and that there is nothing that can be done and there might be hopelessness. But if you find yourself to be on your journey at the end of this search or tired, this is a good thing because then we can divest our energy from being used in these useless infinite loops. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say. Thank you for watching, and maybe this is also useful for us as humans because the same type of algorithm is also strategic thinking that or logical thinking that tries to find what it's looking for, right? And organizes a plan and tries to find this. But in this case, it can't. And it can be very frustrating. So we are here to help on this. Okay, thank you.